Sir, my question to you is my question to you is the Canadian NSA has said that India has been interfering in their domestic politics. Your reaction to this comment by the Canadian NSA?
Kalol.
Kalol from the Hindu, sir. Sir, one of your first policies, one of the first policies of the Modi government was the Act East policy. Today, we see what's happening in Manipur. Do you think the developments in Manipur have basically negatively impacted that policy?
Latin America. I didn't mention many regions, and I would not in any way like you or anybody else to think we are less invested in that region simply because there was no explicit remark by me. Again, I've spoken about different parts of the world where all of us have been far more active, starting with Prime Minister himself. And the intensity of our visits, the projects, the trade, the political cooperation, each one of this applies in full measure to Latin America. I myself have done 2 trips, one where I did Brazil, Paraguay, Argentina, one which I did Colombia, Guyana, Panama, and Dominican Republic. In fact, I must tell you, even to me, it came as a surprise that the last 4 countries, no foreign minister in our history had ever been there. Even Mexico, I found that the last foreign minister when there was Narasimha Rao. So there have been big gaps in our engagement with other regions, and to be very frank, it affects our credibility. How can you export support from a country which nobody has even bothered to go and visit? So it is taxing, but if we are trying to develop a global footprint, because that is also a point I want to make. When Prime Minister speaks about Amrit Kal and where we will be, a large part of it is development of the country. The foreign policy part of it is to develop a global footprint in those 25 years. So you remember in 2015, I think he used the word first time, towards becoming a leading power. That was the foreign policy trailer of his Amrit Kal goal. So we today want to be much more, and Meenakshi ji I think has made multiple trips as well to Latin America. So our idea really is to see, we would not, I cannot say we would like to cover every country in the world, but we would certainly like to cover as many countries. At a ministerial level, the 4 of us need to do as much as we can, and we are working very hard at it. But if you look at the progress in it, today our trade with Latin America is coming close to $50 billion. Now, relatively speaking, if you look at various big trade accounts, China, ASEAN, etc., mostly our big trade accounts are 100 billion plus. So already, there is a big push, and when you go there, I took a business delegation as well with me. I see great deal of interest in Indian business in being out there. Specifically oil imports. Look, Venezuela, first of all, Venezuela had its own complications because there were secondary sanctions, and the oil importing companies take their own call when it comes to secondary sanctions. But Latin America, I know our investments in Brazil have increased. When I was there, in fact, an expanded agreement was signed. There are a lot of new finds in Latin America. I think there's a lot of interest in looking at that. Your question, Siddhant, about the Canadian NSA's remark. I was, what shall I say? Okay. The phrase which came to my mind was actually a Hindi phrase, which was Ulta Chor Kotwal Ko Dante. If anybody has a complaint, we have a complaint about Canada. What I said earlier, the space that they're giving to Khalistanis and to violent extremists. So I was very perplexed by what I heard. The Act East, look, what has happened with the East, and again, my colleague Dr. Ranjan would bear me out. He is himself from Manipur. I mean, where Act East is concerned, in the last 9 years, there's been an upgrade in the sense there have been deeper investments, more projects. We do much more on security. Earlier on, the focus was, let's do mainly economics. I think connectivity, security, deeper people-to-people collaboration, stronger political collaboration. I think these have been the new facets really which have been added in the last 9 years. I think what is happening in Manipur is largely an issue of Manipur, and I think in that part of the world people do understand that. So I would not really mix apples and oranges here. I think the Act East policy, the progress of the Act East policy, which has been quite considerable in the 9 years, I think will continue, and hopefully the situation in Manipur will also ameliorate.
Sorry, microphone's next to you. No, yes, please.
Rishikesh from the Press Trust of India. So my question is, over the issue of extradition of people indulged in financial fraud or in terrorism, we haven't seen much success in past 4 years. So my question is, what are the reasons behind this, and can we see much success in coming months, especially ahead of 24 elections?
नीरज
सर, नीरज हूँ न्यूज 18 इंडिया से। आपने कहा कि भारत और चीन के बीच LAC मसले के बाद फॉरवर्ड डिप्लॉयमेंट का मसला है, और राहुल गांधी के बारे में आपने ये भी कहा कि उन्हें घरेलू मोर्चे पर अपनी बात रखनी चाहिए, न कि विदेश की धरती पर। वो बार बार घरेलू मोर्चे पर एक बात कहते हैं कि चीन ने भारत के एक बड़े भूभाग पर कब्जा कर लिया है। पिछले 9 साल में अगर फॉरवर्ड डिप्लॉयमेंट इशू को छोड़ दे तो उसके अलावा आप कह सकते हैं कि चीन ने भारत की जमीन पर कब्जा नहीं किया है, या फिर राहुल गांधी निराधार बयान दे रहे हैं?
मानुष.
So this is Manas Pratim Puyan from PTI Press Trust of India. Sir, India's relations with United States and Russia, we have seen a significant upswing in the last few years actually, notwithstanding the current geopolitical turmoil as well as big power competitions. So how do you characterize this? And going forward, do you think in fact if the conflict between West and Asia or the overall conflict, great power competition widens, such an approach sustainable, sir? So, and one would just added question is that, I mean, in the BRICS Cape Town declaration, it was mentioned that, the countries are looking for a mediation proposal. So would you like to just...
Mediation? It's a different question. Anyway,
Yeah. Sorry. The first question, जो आपका जो extradition वाला question जो था, no, there are pending extradition requests with many countries. There can be financial fraud, there can be terrorism, there can be crimes of various kinds. Now you have to understand, generally speaking, with everybody, extradition has a very high bar. You have to show proof and meet certain legal standards, including of that country. What I can say is we have been pushing many cases. Some cases are more high profile than other cases. You can see the progress. You can see the progress in their systems, that the cases are going to one level of court, next level of court, and it is proceeding towards an extradition. We have had a few cases. Obviously, in some of the high profile cases, we are waiting for those to come to the conclusion. जो आपने पूछा, can I put a timeline on it? I cannot put a timeline on it because it's dependent on legal processes of other countries. But what I can say is we will spare no effort in this direction. And, again, a lot of this extradition is rooted through, because the actual extradition process, the documents, etc., are all done by us. I mean, it's obviously the concerned agency or the ministry here, but MEA is very much involved in it, and we are giving it our fullest effort. जो आपका दूसरा सवाल, आपका जो सवाल जो था चीन के बारे में, देखिए, राहुल गांधी जी जो हैं बहुत सारी चीज़ें कहती हैं और मैं मानता हूँ राजनीति में लोग कहते हैं। अब उन्होंने ये भी कहा कि देखिए वो पंगोंग त्सो में पुल बना है। अब पुल बना है तो वो ऐसी जगह बना है जो चीन ने 1962 में कब्जा किया था। तो फिर कुछ लोग कांग्रेस पार्टी से कहने लगे कि आपके अरुणाचल में एक मॉडल विलेज बना है। अगर आप देखें, पार्लियामेंट के रिकॉर्ड देखें, ये जगह लोंगजू जो है चाइना ने 1959 में कब्जा किया था। तो कुछ देखिए, चाइना जो है 1950 से भारत के ज़मीन पे कब्जा कर चुका है। मेन पॉइंट है कि जो एलएसी में जो है, एलएसी की पेट्रोलिंग होती, हम लोग जो हैं पेट्रोलिंग बेस, हमारी फौज जो है पेट्रोलिंग बेस से निकल कर पेट्रोलिंग करके बेस पे वापस चले जाती। 2020 के बाद ये नहीं हुआ क्योंकि जब उन्होंने वो 2 अग्रीमेंट 93 और 96 अग्रीमेंट्स का उल्लंघन करके बहुत बड़ी मात्रा में फौज लाए, तो पेट्रोलिंग करके वापस जाना के बजाय हमें फॉरवर्ड डिप्लॉयमेंट करना पड़ा। अभी जो प्रॉब्लम क्या है, फॉरवर्ड डिप्लॉयमेंट की प्रॉब्लम है कि हम दोनों फॉरवर्ड डिप्लॉयड हैं, और फॉरवर्ड डिप्लॉयमेंट जैसे मैंने उनको समझाई उसी से तो टेंशन पैदा होता है।